Good morning and happy Lent for all celebrating it. I know this is a day after Lent. I should have put in the last recording. Happy Lent. If I did, then awesome. If not, my bad. But I'm recording this Wednesday night. Lent has started for me when I'm recording this. I hope you guys are having a good start to your Lent, or maybe sorrowful is the right word to use. Have a good Lent. We're Wisdom of Solomon chapter 10 today. And this is a wisdom in history, and it's going to go through quite a few figures. I am going to read in this the headings for each of the sections. It's going to be every couple of verses. So when I say someone's name, that's what's going on. If you're following along in the text, hopefully you can find there are a few versions online for free. We're using the NKJV. I don't know why I paused there, but here we go. Wisdom in history. Adam. Wisdom took care of the first formed father of the world when he alone was created, and she delivered him from his transgression, and gave him strength to rule all things. Cain. But when an unrighteous man departed from her in his wrath, he perished in anger for murdering his brother. Noah. When the earth was flooded because of him, again wisdom saved it, and piloted the righteous man by a cheap piece of wood. Abraham. Also, when the nations in evil concord were confused, wisdom knew the righteous man, and preserved him blameless before God, and kept him strong in the time of his affection for his child. Lot. Wisdom rescued a righteous man when the ungodly were perishing, for he escaped the fire that descended on the 5 cities. Concerning which a testimony still remains, a barren land continually blackened with smoke, trees bearing fruit which does not ripen in season, and a pillar of salt standing as a monument to an unbelieving soul. For since they passed by wisdom, they not only were injured by not knowing good things, but also left behind for the living a memorial of their folly, so they could not forget their fall. Wisdom rescued from troubles those who served her. Jacob. She guided a righteous man on straight paths. When he fled from his brother's wrath, she showed him the kingdom of God and gave him knowledge of holy things. She prospered him in hardships and increased the fruit of his labors. When they dishonored him in their covetousness, she stood by him and made him rich. She protected him from his enemies. Kept him safe from those who plotted against him, and arbitrated a strong contest for him, so he might know that godliness is more powerful than anything. Joseph. When a righteous man was sold, wisdom did not abandon him, but delivered him from sin. She went down with him into a pit, and she did not leave him in chains until she brought him the scepter of a kingdom, and authority over those who tyrannized him. She showed those who blamed him to be lying, and gave him everlasting glory. Moses. She delivered a holy people and a blameless seed from a nation of oppressors. She entered the soul of a servant of the Lord, and opposed fearful kings with signs and wonders. She gave to holy men the reward of their labors. She guided them in a marvelous way, and became for them a shelter by day, and a flame of stars by night. She carried them across the Red Sea, and led them through deep water. But she drowned their enemies, and cast them up from the depth of the abyss. Therefore the righteous stripped the ungodly. Therefore the righteous stripped the ungodly, and they sang, O Lord, to your holy name, and praised with one accord your defending hand. Because wisdom opened the mouth of the dumb, and made the tongues of infants speak clearly. That is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 10. And if that is not the clearest example so far of them attributing wisdom to Christ, which is the angel of the Lord in Exodus and Genesis, when he when he shows up to Hagar in the wilderness, it is the same figure, and that's just the classic Christian teaching. If you disagree with that, then you know that's rough, buddy. But here on this channel, we will stand firmly by that. And if you guys want the rest of the commentary here on the short, go to the channel. But as for everybody here, I think that is probably one of the best takeaways from this chapter. Is seeing Christ at work through the history of Israel. And that's always an important part for the history of the church. is that understanding, is that it is God who is working through the history the entire time. Right? God is sovereign, God is absolute, and yes, he allows men some measure of freedom within his creation, but it is limited by his sovereignty. And at times he does intervene much more directly, right? The angel of the Lord appears. There are times God has a very direct hand in things in even more unseen ways, though we kind of get told from the biblical narrative exactly what's going on. But we also see here a lot of the saving work of God, right? Wisdom rescued a righteous man when the ungodly were perishing, with Lot. She guided a righteous man on straight paths when he fled from his brother's wrath, with Jacob. When a righteous man was sold, wisdom did not abandon him, with Joseph. Moses, she delivered a holy people and a blameless seed from a nation of oppressors. Is that God does not abandon his children. He does not abandon those who are part of the church, as we would say, started all the way back in Israel. Those who are his people, his body. And he is always, right, Romans 8, I'm going to say 28, and hopefully I'm not wrong, because then I'll be mocked forever. But he works all things towards good. And that is how he's always worked in creation. We see it in the story of Joseph, right? When his brothers sell him into slavery. You meant it for evil. God meant it for good. He worked their evil and took their intentions and their plan and instead affected the results and worked good out of the evil they had done. Which is how God works with evil. When men do evil things with evil intentions, they control their actions. God controls the outcomes. They don't get to determine the end result. That's why you constantly see warnings in Proverbs and the Psalms. The wicked will fall into their own traps, into their own snares. They will be cut by their own swords, pierced by their own arrows. The wicked will face their own judgment by their actions, and on and on and on. That's a clear biblical teaching throughout the entire Bible, not just Old, but also New Testament. Jesus speaks very clearly about the wrath that is coming for the wicked. I know there are people in our modern day who are not so comfortable with that, but I think that's something we definitely need to focus on. That's just part of God's judgment, is he works all things towards good for the righteous. He saves them. He brings good and blessing and righteousness into their lives. And even if they're suffering now, their reward is eternal. But for the wicked, you will fall by your own swords. You will fall into your own traps. You will get tripped into your own snares. You will be judged for your wickedness. That's just the biblical teaching. And I think that is also a message here kind of undergirding this chapter. Right? By extension, if he's helping the righteous, he's hindering the wicked. With that, go in peace. Have a good day.